extreme feelings of serenity surround you when you drive this, what was it called, the GLC 250 diesel. As long as you don't prod the accelerator too hard, you're just going to waft along very, very pleasantly. It may be based on a C-Class platform, but it's 2 classes above that in terms of comfort. That may be due to the fact that this particular vehicle is riding on 17-inch rims with big beefy winter tires, and they surely have their role to play in its excellent ride. The 2.1 liter engine in this car is very pokey. It has 204 horsepower and also 500 newton meters of torque. That torque figure is impressive for an engine of this displacement. Hooked up to the only transmission available on the 250 diesel, the 9-speed G-tronic transmission, it's a beautiful combo. We have tried the same engine before, hooked up to the same gearbox, although in its lower 220 power output, and we liked it a lot on the C-Class Coupe. And we suspect that the same engine, the 170 horsepower version, would be sufficient to move this car along without making it feel sluggish. However, this 200 plus variant does not leave you wanting for power. It's also a very smooth combo. The engine and the gearbox work very well together. They're not fighting each other in any way, like you get in some cars. Some have criticized the 2.1 liter engine fitted to this car for being, well, clattery and kind of loud. But I'm not getting any of that, to be honest. Sure, there's a bit of but it's more than bearable. And it's actually better than rivals with newer generation engines, as this unit is quite old and they've constantly been updating it over the years. And now it's due to be replaced by a 2-liter engine. This is the kind of vehicle which can take you and your family across continental journeys. You'll hardly feel anything if you don't gun it. The fuel bill will stay very reasonable. I mean, if you're careful, you can achieve 6-ish liters per 100 Ks. Now with this vehicle, this particular one with the air suspension, it can get a bit roly-poly in tighter bends. However, you can firm it up using the rocker switch with the modes there. I was driving it the other day on a mountain road in comfort mode, and I noticed that I was getting sick. Something which rarely, if ever, happens to me. Even so, if you can get past the body roll, you won't necessarily be disappointed by this car's grip levels. It's no handler, but it's not unsafe either. In fact, I actually quite like the steering. Some have criticized it, calling it woolly and kind of indirect, but that's the norm these days. So it's kind of strange that they're pointing it out in a Mercedes of all cars. I mean, you expect that from one of these cars, I think. Driving on this, well, it's not a road, it's just a path carved by another vehicle, probably a more rugged and less luxurious one, but it's really effortless. Oops, don't want to scratch it. This is really the most extreme kind of off-roading a vehicle like this will probably get to do, which is a shame, but yeah, no problem whatsoever. You just raise the suspension, optional in this case, but totally worth it. Fiddle with the off-road mode, also optional, but I'm not sure they're as worthy of your cash as the air suspension, and then away you go. I honestly was expecting to diss the GLC and criticize it, but really, it's kind of hard to do that, as it's a thoroughly capable vehicle, one that excels in terms of efficiency, comfort, and interior ambience and style. Sure, the interior feels lifted straight out of the C-Class, but that's no bad thing, as the C-Class, well, it rocks in terms of interior. It's arguably the most expensive feeling of the compact execs, and this is carried over into the GLC body as well. So yeah, the GLC. A nice car to be in, not so nice to look at. Or it's still nice to look at, as long as you don't stray too far from the front end, which is quite handsome. Compared to the GLK it replaces, the GLC is 118 millimeters longer, and that translates into 50 odd more millimeters of interior space for passengers, lengthwise I mean. The trunk is also bigger now, having grown to 550 liters, which is 80 more than the GLK. It's not really that spacious or airy feeling. The roofline tapers towards the rear of the car, and this eats into headroom, and other crossovers and SUVs, some might even be smaller than this, will definitely feel airier and offer genuinely more room.
As for the infotainment, our tester featured the optional Command Online system displayed on an 8.4-inch screen. No touch function is offered, so your only means of interaction with the system is via the familiar Mercedes swivel wheel and floating touchpad combo. It suffers from excessive menuitis, but is otherwise adequate to use.
Pricing for the GLC starts at just over 45,000 euros, but this as tested model is nearly 20,000 euros more expensive.
The main money hogs here are extras like the air suspension for 2,300 euros, the off-road pack which changes the bumpers to give the car better attack and departure angles for another 1,100 of your euros, the off-road tech pack which for 700 euros gives you the selectable driving modes, and finally the Command Online infotainment which is a whopping 3,000 euros.
So yeah, if you're looking for the most comfortable and luxurious feeling of the compact executive car-based crossover SUVs, you can't go wrong with the GLC. Yes, it rolls a bit in the corners, and space in the back is not excessive, but really, it's better than you think. And 4 people can travel in absolute comfort in this car, no question about it. The GLC is the choice of the mature compact SUV buyer, who values ride comfort, interior ambiance, and badge kudos above all. It's a strong contender in the class, one that should not be overlooked.